Why it's not yet time to panic about the 76ers despite their league-worst 2-11 record. By most mathematical measures, the Philadelphia 76ers are more or less cooked. They are 2-11. They are tied with the Washington Wizards for the NBA's worst record. Joel Embiid is clearly not back to full strength yet. It's not clear when Tyrese Maxey will return from his own injury. After Monday's 106-89 loss to the Miami Heat, head coach Nick Nurse was late to his press conference because of what he described as a little team meeting, which rarely come about for positive reasons. History tells us the season is almost certainly over. Only 6 teams have ever recovered from a 2-10 start to reach .500. The 2022-23 Los Angeles Lakers, 2 different Chicago Bulls teams, 1976-77 and 2004-2005, 2 different New Jersey Nets teams, 1981-82 and 2004-2005, and 1 Seattle Supersonics team, 1977-78. Of those teams, only the Lakers and Sonics won a playoff series. Of course, it should also be noted that those Sonics made it all of the way to Game 7 of the 1978 NBA Finals. The Lakers made it to the Western Conference Finals. Yes, these are outliers, but outliers exist, and despite their 2-11 start, the 76ers, at least on paper, look primed to be our next slow start outlier.
Why?
Here are 3 reasons not to panic about Philadelphia's miserable start. Consider the following statement. The Boston Celtics are out of the running for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. It's a tad ridiculous, isn't it? They trail the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers by only 3.5 games in the standings. Well, that's how far the 76ers are out of the number 6 seed in the East right now. At 2-11, they trail the number 6 seed Detroit Pistons by 5 wins and 2 losses, or 3.5 games in total. We're not even talking about a play-in spot at this point. We're talking about an outright playoff spot. Philadelphia's schedule, at least thus far, has been fairly difficult. They've played 7 opponents currently above .500, tied for the 3rd most in the East. They've played 1 more road game than games at home. They've already encountered several of the thinner, older teams that are likelier to be injured later in the season like the Lakers, Knicks, and Suns. Other than a home loss to the surprisingly frisky Pistons and a defeat at the hands of the Paolo Banchero-less Magic, most of their defeats have been relatively defensible. The reality of playing in the Eastern Conference is that the pathway to the postseason is almost always pretty straightforward. Let's say Philadelphia plays .500 basketball the rest of the way. That would get them to 36 wins, the same amount last year's number 10 seed in the East, the Atlanta Hawks. If they manage a 40-29 record the rest of the way, which translates to an unimpressive 47.5 win pace over a full season, they'll finish above .500 at 42-40. That virtually guarantees them a playoff spot, as only 4 Eastern Conference teams have gone above .500 and missed the playoffs this century, and 2 of them were play-in teams in the same season, 2021-22. This is just life in the NBA's Junior Varsity Conference. A 2-11 start might be a death sentence out west. In the East, there's more than enough margin for error to climb back into the thick of things. Maxey and Embiid have not played in a game together yet. Maxey and Paul George have played together twice. George and Embiid have played together 3 times. Yes, that is a long way of saying they haven't been healthy, but think about how this Philadelphia roster was constructed. Embiid, George, and Maxey are all earning max salaries. There is not another player on the roster within the 190 highest-paid players in the NBA. Caleb Martin, making slightly more than the cap room mid-level exception, comes in at number 191. No team is explicitly designed to win with missing stars, but remember, we're in the second apron era. It's harder than ever to cultivate depth. Philadelphia's path to winning always revolved around having 3 healthy stars because there was never going to be too much behind them. They've played more than half of their games with 1 or fewer stars on the court. This was, to an extent, inevitable. You could argue that their stars haven't been good enough when they've been on the floor, but that's been relatively predictable in context. Embiid always starts low. He shot below 50% from the floor in October and November of last season. In December and January, he was back up to 56% from the field and 41.4% on threes. A year before that, Philadelphia started 12-12 and ended 42-16, winning Embiid his first MVP award. Maxey's overall efficiency has plummeted, but that has mostly come from behind the arc. He's actually shooting 1 percentage point better on two-pointers, 51.1% versus 50.1%, than he did a year ago. He's just been cold on open three-pointers, making only 20% of those attempts compared to 36.9% last season. George is in a similar boat. He's at 15 of 52 from deep this season, but he's a career 38.4% shooter. He's going to progress back to the mean. These are issues that are likely to correct as the season progresses. Embiid will get in shape. His presence will open the paint up more for Maxey, who has struggled at the rim while playing in weak lineups. Maxey's rim gravity will create more triples for George. Having all three healthy will mean fewer minutes with one or none of them on the floor at all. This team was built for these three players to amplify one another. That just hasn't been possible thus far. 3. They've hit home runs with their supporting cast. The supporting cast has, by and large, been bad. Martin isn't hitting three-pointers at the rate they'd hoped. Kyle Lowry is hitting three-pointers, but not doing nearly enough else. Kelly Oubre and Eric Gordon have struggled across the board. Obviously, this isn't what Philadelphia was hoping for, but it supports the notion that you generally get what you pay for in the NBA. Most of Philadelphia's resources were devoted to uniting its three stars. There wasn't much left for everyone else. From that perspective, their two major wins on the role player front are that much more meaningful. Jared McCain has been an absolute revelation as the number 16 overall pick in June's NBA draft. He's not going to keep averaging 26.6 points per game as he has across his last 5 outings, but the 76ers have seemingly landed on a viable 3-level scorer outside of the lottery for the second time in 4 drafts. While McCain isn't quite as impactful with the ball in his hands as Maxey is, the importance of landing this type of scorer without allocating major resources to doing so cannot be understated. How on earth are you supposed to stop Embiid, Maxey, and George when there's a fourth 76ers player ready to punish you for helping off of him or giving him mismatches? Their offense at full strength is going to be extremely difficult to guard. Guerschon Yabusele, provided he can keep making roughly a league-average percentage of his three-pointers, slots just as easily into multiple important roles. The 76ers allocated their few remaining post-George resources to wings. They signed 4 free agents for real money after George, 3 of whom figured to be rotation mainstays: Martin, Oubre, and Andre Drummond. That's 2 small forwards to go along with the expensive small forward they just added, and a center to go along with the star center they already had. LA Lakers ice 6th straight win, take on Utah Jazz in NBA Cup. The Los Angeles Lakers return home on November 19th, November 20th, Singapore time, when they will put a 5-game winning streak on the line against the Utah Jazz in an NBA Cup West Group B game. The Lakers have taken advantage of undermanned NBA, National Basketball Association, teams of late, with victories in the winning streak coming over the Philadelphia 76ers without Joel Embiid, the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant, and the New Orleans Pelicans sans CJ McCollum and DeJounte Murray on November 16th. In the 104-99 victory at New Orleans, Los Angeles had their own personnel issues to overcome, with Cam Reddish, foot, and Rui Hachimura, ankle, out. Rookie Dalton Knecht started and scored a career-best 27 points. Over his past 3 games, 2 of them starts, Knecht has averaged 20.0 points in over 31 minutes per game. He was 5 of 10 from three-point range against the Pelicans and has gone 12 of 19, 63.2%, from behind the arc in his 3-game productive stretch. Every time Knecht shoots the ball, I think it's going in, said Lakers star Anthony Davis, who had 31 points and 14 rebounds against his former team. That's why we get so frustrated and upset with him when he doesn't shoot. He's a great player. He can defend, he can shoot, he can put it on the floor, he can pass. So he can do it all. Lakers veteran LeBron James shook off a slow start to score 21 points and deliver big baskets down the stretch. He is averaging 23.3 points, 9.2 assists, and 8.6 rebounds in his 22nd season. The Jazz have been better of late, but are coming off a second consecutive loss as they fell 116-105 on the road against the Los Angeles Clippers on November 17th. Utah trailed 99-76 with 11 minutes and 6 seconds remaining before they rallied to within 110-103 with 3 minutes 18 seconds to play on a three-pointer from Jordan Clarkson. The Clippers fashioned a quick 5-0 run and cruised to the victory from there. Clarkson finished with 21 points off the bench, while Lauri Markkanen had 18 points with 10 rebounds. Keyonte George scored just 9 points on 4 of 12 shooting for Utah and was replaced at the start of the second half by Isaiah Collier. Another night where we had a variety of lineups out there, but I think that the thing we're trying to emphasize every night is you have to compete if you want to play, Jazz head coach Will Hardy said. That's non-negotiable. Markkanen believes the effort the Jazz put forth in the fourth quarter on November 17th is something they can learn from and apply moving forward. We have that fight in us, and I think that's what we're trying to achieve, he said. We're looking for a full game of that desperation, playing hard, and really have that competitive edge. John Collins leads the Jazz with 17.5 points per game, while Markkanen is just behind at 17.3 points. Walker Kessler is the team's leading rebounder at 10.7 per game, but will miss his fifth straight game on November 19th with a right hip injury. Lakers might not trade D'Angelo Russell after recent success off the bench. D'Angelo Russell being benched initially seemed to spell the beginning of the end for him with the Lakers. But Russell made the most of his opportunities and may have saved his Lakers stint, as Anthony Irwin of Clutch Points reported that the Lakers might be hesitant to trade Russell now that he is thriving in his new role coming off the bench and leading the second unit. In talking to sources close to the Lakers, Russell playing well in this role might make them a little more reluctant to part with him, as bench unit seriously struggled with Gabe Vincent at the helm. Rewind 10 seconds. Move forward 10 seconds. Unmute. 001/009. Full screen. Grading Lakers players after 120-115 win over Spurs. Davis 40 points. LeBron triple-double grading Lakers players after 120-115 win over Spurs. Davis 40 points. LeBron triple-double. Read more. If this is actually who Russell can be for the rest of the season, the Lakers might get even more picky about who they'd trade him for, or would look to find a more reliable option than Vincent as part of a Russell trade. This decision not to trade Russell could be a double-edged sword. While Russell has definitely gotten better coming off the bench, Russell's value is going to be significantly higher than when he was a starter. And not capitalizing on that to try and help improve the roster could be a bad idea in the long run. Russell started 8 games this season and averaged 12.0 points, 5.8 assists, 2.3 rebounds, 1.0 steals, and 0.1 blocks. He shot poorly during this stint, making just 37.5% of his shots from the field, 29.2% from beyond the arc, and 94.1% from the free throw line. Russell's stats look the same coming off the bench, but he has taken a big leap in efficiency. In the 5 games Russell has come off the bench, he has averaged 12.2 points, 3.4 assists, 1.8 rebounds, 1.0 steals, and 0.0 blocks, while shooting 46% from the field, 40% from 3, and 83.3% from the stripe. While D'Angelo Russell has worked hard to redeem himself and accept a lesser role on the team, the Lakers still need to think about the good of the team. If Russell's value improves significantly as he continues his good performances off the bench, they can capitalize on it by making a big deal. The Lakers, despite being 9-4 and the 4th seed in the Western Conference, it is clear that the roster needs to be improved, primarily to provide them with more wing defending and three-point shooting. And Russell's improved trade value could be crucial in making any deal happen. Furthermore, he provides flexibility to any team that takes him on, as he becomes a free agent next summer, and they are not obligated to keep him on if they feel he doesn't fit their plans. The Lakers have reason to be genuinely optimistic about their team's chances this season. J.J. Redick has done a marvelous job as head coach, giving the Lakers one of the best records in the entire league so far. The front office should do everything in their power to reward him with better pieces that can improve the roster and help them compete for a championship. Blockbuster trade proposal sees Lakers shift power in Western Conference. The Los Angeles Lakers entered the new season with essentially the same team as last season despite losing in the first round of the playoffs. The front office didn't make many upgrades to the roster and instead is looking ahead to the trade deadline in February. In a new proposed trade deal from Dan Favale of Bleacher Report, the Lakers would land two pieces that could dramatically help them. The deal has Los Angeles trading with the Portland Trail Blazers and landing forward Jerami Grant and center Robert Williams III. Los Angeles and Portland discussed a deal for Grant over the summer, but couldn't get it over the finish line. Maybe now they can re-engage on those talks and push the deal over the edge. In the proposed deal, Los Angeles would send young guard Jalen Hood-Schifino, guard D'Angelo Russell, forward Jared Vanderbilt, guard Gabe Vincent, a 2029 first-round pick that has top-5 protection, and a 2031 first-round pick that has top-5 protection as well. The biggest hindrance in any deal would be the Lakers' hesitancy to trade both available first-round picks that they have at their disposal right now. Still, a healthy RW3 provides a major boost to the big man rotation and defense, both with and without Anthony Davis. And Jerami Grant can wear all sorts of hats on both ends, often to the point he looks like a fringe star. Los Angeles can haggle over the picks and push for swaps instead of an outright obligation in 2031. Portland is giving up enough to draw the line. If the Lakers are at all serious about capitalizing on what's left of the joint AD-LeBron James window, they should give this at least some consideration. Landing both Grant and Williams III could help the Lakers shift power in the Western Conference. Grant would give them a strong defensive wing who can shoot efficiently from beyond the three-point line. He is shooting 34.4% from distance this year, but has normally been an above-average shooter from deep. Grant could be very valuable come playoff time for Los Angeles. Williams III would provide Los Angeles with some extra depth in the front court. His energy off the bench would be welcomed, and he could help with rebounding purposes. Both Los Angeles and Portland have been linked together for a long time when it comes to a potential trade, and maybe we'll see it transpire before the trade deadline.